Welcome back to the channel everyone. Today I want to compare the new Mercedes EQS coming out in Q3 of 2021 to the Lucid Air, which also comes out in the second half of 2021. I want to compare their looks, their specs and their price. I also want to review the March deliveries for NIO and see how these compare to their remaining deliveries in Q1. I also want to see whether NIO are on track with their 2021 delivery plans. Before I dive into the video, I want to quickly remind you all to subscribe to the channel, ding that notification bell, drop a like down below, check out the links to Webull and Free Trade in the description to get 2 free shares worth up to $1,850, and also to check out the Patreon and become part of the team. And now I want to dive straight in with the key information. So, we know what the Lucid Air looks like on the inside and the outside. It's pretty spectacular. It's a mixture of class and luxury with a sporty sedan feel. However, Peter Rawlinson noted that the Mercedes EQS is coming this year, which is great, and that the Lucid Air is going to be going head to head with the new electric offering from Mercedes. But who's going to come out on top? Well, let's start out with the looks. From the outside, the Mercedes EQS looks very futuristic and Tron-like, potentially with a very impressive looking digital grille. However, there's also options with a regular grille. Maybe it's like an AMG only feature. If we move over to the interior, the Mercedes looks absolutely sublime. But then again, Mercedes always does. Out of the big three, BMW, Mercedes and Audi, Mercedes always has been the most luxurious looking inside and probably outside as well. It takes a lot of elements from the S-Class, with that swooping light bar that runs around the entire car, the impressive looking seating controls with the all new digital heads-up display, and the removal of the entire gear stick centre console. Everything's now controlled from the hyperscreen. Although interestingly, this hyperscreen is an added extra. The standard EQS comes with a floating screen similar to the S-Class. No word yet on how much this hyperscreen is going to cost, although considering the size of it, it's probably going to be pretty expensive. The Lucid Air on the other hand is a lot more minimalistic, still keeping that large heads-up display and removing that gear stick in the centre console, but with a lot less going on the steering wheel and also the door cards. I have to admit personally, the Mercedes takes this round for me. Moving on to the price, and this bit is very important. The Mercedes EQS starts at around $96,000, with an AMG version coming later that's obviously going to cost more. This is interesting because it doesn't compete directly with the Lucid Air Dream Edition, but maybe the Lucid Air Touring Edition or the Grand Touring for the AMG version. Now we know where the Mercedes EQS lies, we can more accurately compare it to the Lucid Air. Let's start off with battery size. The Mercedes EQS has a 108 kWh battery. The Lucid Air has a 113 kWh battery. No real winner here. Next up, range. The Mercedes EQS does about 435 miles to the charge, with the AMG version likely doing a little more. The Lucid Air Touring Edition only does 406 miles to the charge, with the Grand Touring doing a whopping 517. So the Mercedes EQS pips the Touring Edition for the win. In terms of horsepower, there's a clear winner. The Mercedes has about 469 horses, with the Lucid Air Touring having a whopping 620 horsepower. The Lucid Air Grand Touring has a giant 800 horsepower. This translates directly over to 0 to 60 time as well, the Mercedes doing it in 4.5 seconds, with the AMG version clocking in at 4.2 seconds. The Lucid Air Touring does it in 3.2 seconds and the Grand Touring in only 3 seconds. So far it definitely seems like the Lucid Air has the performance advantage in terms of drivability. However, you will have to stump up some additional money to get those extra miles. In terms of the charging, the Mercedes can actually support up to 350 kilowatt charging, allowing it to charge around 80% of its battery in only 20 minutes, so around 348 miles. The Lucid on the other hand only charges around 300 miles in 20 minutes, so a bit less. But what about autonomous driving? Mercedes is currently working with NVIDIA for their autonomous driving feature. NVIDIA are working with NIO, so the system's going to be pretty good. Lucid, on the other hand, have created their own technology with the Dream Drive by partnering with manufacturers such as Mobileye, who NIO used to use. I think it's a bit too early to call right now who's going to have the best autonomous driving features, especially as Mercedes are still having legislative issues trying to get their technology approved. All in all, it seems like the Mercedes EQS, both the base model and the AMG, outperform the Lucid Air Touring Edition. However, the Grand Touring definitely takes the victory, and don't even mention the Dream Edition. I think it's also important to remember that while the Dream Edition is going to begin delivery in the second half of 2021, the Touring Edition, Air Pure and even Grand Touring might not begin delivery until later in the year or even in 2022, and therefore there's still time for Lucid to improve the mileage capabilities and the charge times. Also, in terms of pricing, the EQS does sit between the Touring Edition and the Grand Touring. It's actually quite a bit more expensive than the Touring, especially when you add on all of your optional extras. Just a quick reminder to scroll down and to make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. If you're not and you've watched a few of my videos already, then subscribe, because at least that way if you subscribe and ding the notification bell, you'll be alerted as soon as I upload a new video. Now on to NIO. Let's talk about the March deliveries that have just been announced. In March, they delivered a whopping 7,251 vehicles, more than they did in January at 7,225, and a whole lot more than they did in February, which was around 5,600 vehicles. It was very important for NIO to bring those March deliveries back up to January levels, and they managed to do it. They had estimated that they'd deliver between 20,000 and 20,500 vehicles in Q1, and they hit the nail on the head with around 20,000 vehicles delivered. This is obviously a significant improvement on Q4 deliveries and all of the quarters before that, and should help drive improvement in the NIO stock price. The same can also be said for Li Autos and XPeng, who also had good March deliveries as well. However, NIO also recently announced a temporary 5-day closure of their manufacturing facility, similar to Tesla did the other month. It seems like the part shortage or the chip shortage is also affecting NIO. However, Taiwan Semiconductors recently announced a whole bunch of good news. TSMC announced that they'd be investing $100 billion over the next 3 years to improve manufacturing capabilities. They've also recently been on a hiring spree and have already started constructing new facilities. As Taiwan Semiconductors and other chip manufacturers begin to catch up with the demand and continue expanding, it will be likely that the rest of the wider tech market will continue improving over the next few months. Today was a great day in the market, with CCIV back up towards that $25 mark. A number of other stocks were also up, like NIO, EHang, Fubo, and a lot more. And as always guys, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out some of my others. Also remember to get your free stocks with Webull and Freetrade, and be sure to check out the Patreon and become part of the team. But for now, cheers.